Over the past several years, the Austrian economics crowd has gotten everything wrong, while MMT has gotten everything right. Now, I've spoken about this on several occasions, but I don't mind mentioning it again. The people who were forecasting hyperinflation because of government spending or Fed money printing, or who were saying that interest rates were going to spike and Treasuries were going to crash because of unsustainable debt or a U.S. credit rating downgrade, or that the dollar was going to collapse, or that we'd have an economic depression because of deficits, they got it completely and comically wrong. You would think that after such a dismal performance, some of these clowns would wake up and start to question their own misguided theories. Instead, they're doubling down on their own ignorance. I heard one of them last week lamely saying that he can't foretell when these things are going to happen, but they're going to happen one day. So he's sticking to his story. You know what that is? That's useless information. It's like saying that one day the sun will cease to revolve around the earth. In fact, it contains even less information than that. But I guess he does that because that's how he can claim to never be wrong. I'm right, but it just didn't happen yet. Recently, some of these people have gotten so flustered and confused by their wrong prognostications on the U.S. that they've switched their theories to a new venue, Japan. They must think that, well, since it didn't work here in the U.S., then, hey, it's got to work in Japan. But it's the same misguided stuff. Unsustainable debt, money printing. Japan won't be able to find investors who will be willing to finance the debt, blah, 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 blah. Same stuff, same erroneous arguments. And when it doesn't happen, you know what they're going to say? They'll say the same thing they always say. It's going to happen one day. The fact that people would give these fools a second's worth of attention is beyond me, but it says a lot about their followers, and it also says a lot about the media outlets that promote such crap. I remember one time listening to a TV producer who boasted to me about how popular his show was. He featured a lot of these guests. And not only did he feature these guys, he made it a point to tell me that whenever I went on his show and talked about stuff like MMT, I got the lowest ratings of anyone. When I said to him that, hey, Jersey Shore got high ratings too, he got offended. He got insulted. He was furious. Personally, I don't really care if I get low ratings. I'm not trying to win a popularity contest. What gives with these guys anyway? What makes them so blind and virulently dogmatic? I don't know. Maybe it's a type of a character flaw. Perhaps you could ascribe it to some deep-seated ignorance or fear of the unknown being things that fall outside their internal belief system. Psychologists might say that these truths and facts cause them to have cognitive dissonance, a condition that creates inner conflict and stress. And in order to escape that uncomfortable feeling, the flight mechanism kicks in. They mentally flee. How does that manifest? Well, it manifests in repeating their dogma over and over again, ignoring the facts and even ignoring the inherent contradictions in the things they say. For example, I heard one of these guys the other day who had been predicting hyperinflation and an economic collapse. Of course, he couldn't say when. He said that the only thing holding up the economy were the massive price discounts that stores were offering to consumers to get them to shop. So here he was on the one hand saying that hyperinflation was just around the corner, yet he turns around in the very next sentence and contradicts himself by saying that firms are forced to discount their goods massively. That was his own words. And he didn't even see the contradiction there in his statement, the incongruity of his arguments. It's unreal. Sometimes the flight response takes the form of some metaphor or maybe name calling. An often used metaphor is, hey, if your ideas are so correct and true, then why are you the only one saying it? That's a metaphor for you're stupid. I've had that used against me many times, and recently CNBC anchor Becky Quick used it against Paul Krugman, who's a Nobel economist, when she argued that there's no other economist out there who held his views on the fiscal crisis, and therefore he had to be wrong. Hey, I'm sure people like Columbus and Copernicus And the Wright brothers and Thomas Edison had that thrown at them many times. If man were meant to fly, then God would have given him wings. Hey, Chris, remember that ship that sailed over the horizon the other day and never came back? Copernicus, can't you see the sun rising in the east and setting in the west? Hello? Light bulbs? Yeah, like that really has a chance. Anyway, you see what I mean? Primitive people, fearful people, true believers, they're not going to be swayed by truth or fact. On the other hand, intelligent people, introspective, confident, and courageous people can and often do change their minds. They're not threatened by new ideas or the truth. John Maynard Keynes once said, "When the facts change, I change my mind. What do you do, sir?" Well, in this case, the facts haven't changed. They've always been there. The good news is some people are changing their minds, and I welcome them to our side because it's the side of truth and light. As for the others, well, all I can say is I love good comedy. Anyway, that's it for now. This is Mike Norman saying bye-bye. See you next time.